Okay, so speaking of McGregor, obviously everybody has been waiting for that fight forever.
Yeah.
Like, I guess what runs through your mind, like in a delay, obviously, like, I mean, legit, how long have you been ramping up?
So it's been an interesting timeline. Most people would say, okay, your last fight was November of 2022 against Dustin Poirier. You've technically almost been waiting 2 years, but I wasn't really waiting for 2 years. You know, the original plan was I got called in January of 2023 to do the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
February, March of 2023, let the show play out on ESPN, and we would fight later on that summer or fall. So if you look at it from summer or fall of 2023, I mean, I've only been quote unquote waiting for a year. And we did sign on the dotted line. We did have about it.
Yeah, you were doing the show.
And we had a date. I mean, me and Conor were both training for the fight, June 29th, International Fight Week, and he pulls out of the fight with a broken pinky toe. And you know, it's bittersweet, or I guess it's interesting to look at because he's never pulled out of a fight. And if there was ever a quote unquote injury that he would pull out for, would a pinky toe be enough?
I guess if flip the script, if that was you, do you think you would have done the same?
If it was me, absolutely not. But I'm also in a different position than Conor. I think Conor's in a position where I go out there and smoke him in the first round. I mean, he doesn't have much of a leg to stand on, you know.
No pun intended.
A leg to stand on for his future of mixed martial arts career. So it's interesting, but I do know that I've made the right decision by waiting. I mean, this is a fight that I want.
I mean,
everybody wants to call it the red panty night, and you're begging for this, and you're waiting around for this, and you're putting your career on hold. But what's to be said about a man who is strong in his conviction that when he signs his name on the dotted line, he's going to see things through. He's a man of his will. You know, like that's the way I see it, and I'm going to take a lot of flack for it.
Dude, I honestly don't think that many people think of it that way. Like, I just see it as this is going to be a sick fight, huge stage, big opportunity. Like, anybody would want that. Like, that's why you sign up for sports. Yeah,
I mean, so I look at it two ways. I mean, obviously, I've taken a lot of criticism, and have I taken a lot? Are they real people online talking? Are they real? What is social media? What is real? Are they real human beings or not? Two things I would say. Number one, I always take it as a compliment because people want to see me compete.
Yeah.
People want to see me compete. What I've done in the first 2 or 3 years of me signing with the UFC, fighting the top guys right away.
Yeah.
Every single time, win, lose, or draw, it's an exciting fight. You're on the edge of your seat. Debut of the year 2021. Fight of the year 2021. I mean, I've had these awards and accolades against some of the best in the world, so I take it as a compliment. And then also, what kind of man has set him up so much that he doesn't need to fight for almost 2 years?
Yeah.
He has paid me $0 since November of 2020.
Dude, that was my next question.
And I'm able to be fine and not call Uncle Dana every day for a paycheck, you know?
Yeah.
But people won't see it that way. But certain people are seeing that side of the sport of mixed martial arts, or as an athlete.
Yeah.
Athletics, professional athletics in general. What are you doing that's off the field? What are you doing that's out of the octagon? You know?
Yeah, I feel like you're known for just like not backing down from anything. Do you? So I guess, and you kind of answered it, but like it's such a unique sport in the fact that like there's no guarantees. And then even if the contract is signed, there's really not a guarantee. Is there any way for you guys to like hedge your bets or insurance or like anything to I guess like minimize your risk? Because like, you know, you're at a point where like theoretically you could have probably fought someone or so it's like I feel like that's tough.
Yeah, it's tough because we are independent contractors. I have a great standing with my organization. The UFC loves me. I love the UFC. It's a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship.
Yep.
But we are in the sport where there is no guarantees, really. You know, your guarantee is when that cage door closes, okay, now we have a fight. But all the thousands of hours leading up to that, from putting the fight together to us doing our training camps, to us doing our weight cut, the amount of fights that have been scrapped the day of the fight would blow your mind.
I mean,
it's got to be in the thousands at this point.
Even like the last, what was it? Was it 300? Where like the day of, they swapped it out.
It was the one after, but
301. Yeah, it's crazy.
They scrapped it out. And Dan Ige signed on 4 hours notice.
That's nuts.
So it's it's a crazy sport. And yeah, I could have taken another fight. I still right now can call the UFC and say, "What? I'm done with the Conor thing. Give me another fight," and they would do it. So,
dude, everybody wants to see that fight.
I mean, it's when you get into the sport of mixed martial arts, you obviously want to win, but you want the biggest stages, the brightest lights, the biggest names, the biggest platforms, and it checks all of those boxes, as well as when it's all said and done, if this is a hill that I die on and it doesn't work out well for me, at least I was a man of my word, and I continued to move forward with confident expectancy that this fight was going to happen. And maybe I make a mistake. Maybe people look at me and say, man, you woulda, shoulda, coulda. But right now, I feel phenomenal about my decision, and we're going to keep on.
Dude, I think anybody who was in the same position would do the same thing. And it's gonna, and everyone will see when it pays off when you guys actually get it done.
The fighters will never admit that. The amount of fighters out there that have been critical of me won't admit that. But half of those guys want my position.
But it's not like it was like, okay, you know, you're not going to fight him for a year and a half. There's also been like, you know, crumbs laid along the way. It's not like it's just been this cutoff.
Well, that's what I've said too. I've had, and I don't expect the people at home to know, the fans to know, the media to know, but I've had enough certainties behind the scenes, talking to the UFC, talking to Dana, talking to Hunter, even hearing what Conor has said or other people who have said they've spoken to his management. I mean, we've had enough reassurances along the way that, you know, yeah, the fight might not happen right now, but it's going to happen a couple months from now. And there's 10 million different scenarios in which the UFC is trying to create these fight cards every single weekend. I am not envious of their job. It's sleepless nights, and it's crazy.
Do you ever like just talk to Conor like straight up, like man to man, like, hey, are we going to get this done, or is that not how it ever works?
It's a good question, but that's not how this has worked at all.
I feel like you would be down to do that.
I would definitely. I'd be like, yo, man, like let's talk. I mean, you know, I'm not going to ever play the victim. I'm never going to sit here and say, hey, man, you know, I've been out of the game for this long. I got a wife and 2 kids. I got businesses. I got all this stuff. It's more just, with all due respect, I'm ready to put you behind me. I'm ready to put you flat on your back in the middle of an octagon, wherever it is, hopefully Las Vegas, Nevada. And I can walk out of that octagon and never have to think about you again. I can just ride the coattails of the eyeballs that were there that night. So
how much do you like, I guess 2 questions. How much do you have to like shift your mindset at all? I mean, you're a pretty resilient guy, like fighting someone like him, knowing like how it's going to go leading up to the fight. And then in a camp, how much do you like change your preparation, like percentage wise? You know, like is it pretty much like a blueprint and then you just tweak certain things based on style? Or
it's a good question, because I get this question a lot, because you know, you got 2 arms and 2 legs, and I got 2 arms and 2 legs. You got your abilities and I got my abilities, right? I think there's the idea of, you know, the thing that you focus on the most is what you will get in life, you know, just from a spiritual perspective as well as a physical perspective. Like if I'm sitting there and I look at Conor and I say, okay, I got to stay away from the left hand, I got to stay away from this, and I got to stay away from this. Undoubtedly, I will most likely get hit with those things while I'm in the octagon, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I spend 90% of my time focused on me. Just how do I get in shape? How do I become happier, healthier, harder to kill? How do I become the most effective human being inside of the octagon that night? And, you know, a couple little things, tendencies and habits that Conor has. We've seen enough of his fights to know how he's going to start, what he feels like when he's in the suck, what he does when he's in the trenches.